Hi, my name is Katarzyna. I'll be talking about the immune system. The human body is exposed to harmful factors every day. Pathogens are transmitted either directly or indirectly through air drops, contaminated food or water, as well as through contact with an infected animal or insect. To survive in the changing environment, the body has to actively and passively defend itself against pathogens and microbes. Thanks to this mechanism, disease do not develop in the body, or at least are quickly alleviated. The main tool responsible for immunity is obviously the immunity system. However, external barriers such as skin also help in defending the body. The body has two main defense systems: a non-specific and specific. Non-specific immunity is an innate protection system that prevents harmful factors from entering the body. It is associated with the inheritance of receptors from generation to generation that can recognize many pathogens. This type of immunity is a first line of defense that works very quickly but unfortunately less precisely than acquired immunity. Innate immunity starts its mechanism right after contact with the antigen, which is why it works sharply. Additionally, this type of immunity puts external barriers on the first line of defense. It's also supported by the body's secretion, for example, sweat, secretion of the sebaceous glands, or gastric juices that destroy some bacteria. This immunity is based on physical, chemical, and cellular barriers. Physical barriers create mechanical protection, which is the first obstacle that pathogen encounter on the way. The body is protected against the penetration of pathogen from external environment by the skin and mucous membranes of the digestive, respiratory, and urinary tracts. Additionally, defensive reflexes, including sneezing, coughing, and vomiting, help to get rid of intruders from the body. Let's talk about skin. So the skin is the largest organ in the human body, and it consists of three layers: epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. The skin works as a barrier and protects the body against the influence of environmental factors, microbes, and injuries. It also contains Langerhans cells in the epidermis, which recognize pathogen and transmit appropriate information to antigens. Its defensive functions are supported by the acidic pH, together with its structure, does not let all substances from the environment. Finally, thanks to its density, waterproofness, and quick reaction to changing condition, it is the first line of defense, obviously provided it is undamaged. Mucous membranes are located in various systems and different parts of organisms, often lining the entire surface, which makes them exposed to constant contact with various potential pathogens and other threats. They are responsible for mechanical defense as well as enabling the release of enzyme and secretion. Additionally, they help to cleanse foreign particles and dead cells and isolate tissue from the external environment. The compact structure, only epithelium and connective tissue of the mucosa, causes a high strength and tight protection. Additionally, the mucus, together with the continuous movement of the cilia, are involved in removing microbes from the respiratory system towards the throat. The mucosa also contains lymphoid tissue, which produce local immunity through the production of immunoglobulins. The second line of defense, the cell barrier is made up of cytokines and other proteins, as well as defense cell called leukocyte, and includes monocytes, macrophages, granulocyte, and interferon. They become active when pathogen manage to overcome physical and chemical barriers and penetrate the tissues. Leukocytes secrete substances that raise the body temperature above normal, and because of this, the body creates unfavorable conditions for the development of bacteria. Additionally, macrophages can fight the bacteria by endowing them, and then when they break down, they release protein breaking enzyme, and therefore inflammation occurs. Inflammation aims to remove the pathogen as well as allow the body to return to its normal functioning. The area around the wound becomes red and swollen under the influence of enzyme. Damaged and then cells are digested, and the wound fills with pus. Very often this type of innate immunity is sufficient to eliminate the pathogen. However, because this mechanism is not as precise as the acquired immunity, it does not always manage to remove the foreign antigens from the body. Third line of defense. The third line of defense is when the mechanism of innate immunity fails, pathogen enters the body tissue and spreads throughout the body. Then the immune system responsible for the production of specific immunity is involved in recognizing and neutralizing specific microorganism. This is also a mobilization of the white blood cell called macrophages and T and B lymphocytes. Germs have specific proteins called antigen on the surface. B lymphocytes present in the blood produce antibodies, and upon contact with a foreign substance, the number of antibodies in the body increases. After identifying the enemy, antibodies surround it, which is a signal for macrophages to destroy the indicated pathogen. After fighting foreign bodies, a group of lymphocytes remain in the blood as a memory cells, which in the event of another infection can multiply quickly, produce appropriate antibodies, and fight germs, preventing the development of infection. T lymphocytes destroy the body cells, including those infected with viruses and malformed. This is a more specialized type of immunity that develops and works slowly, but is more precisely targeted at a specific harmful pathogen. Its defense mechanisms are activated even a few days after contact with the antigen. The group of lymphocytes also includes the NK cells, known as natural killers, because they can destroy cancer cells and other cells infected with the antigens. Numerous cells of the immune system are formed in the bone marrow and can be divided into phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes are cells capable of recognizing and killing antigens. Phagocytes include macrophages, which engulf pathogen, as well as cancer cells, and they are destroyed in the process called phagocytosis. Additionally, granulocytes release substances that destroy foreign bodies. Neutrophils attack bacteria, eosinophils fight off parasites, and basophils combat the allergic reaction. Now let's talk about immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulins, they are large white-shaped proteins produced by B cells and used to identify and neutralize pathogens. Each antibody can bind to a specific target called an antigen, which is often found on the surface of viruses or bacterial cells that attack the body. Upon contact with an antigen, antibodies neutralize it. There are obviously several types of antibodies. Immunoglobulins A is the first line of defense of the serous and mucous membranes against the invasion of microorganisms. Most of them are locally produced and secreted. Immunoglobulins E, they play an important role mainly in allergic reaction. In immunoglobulin D, they're found mainly on the surface of lymphocytes and act as a receptor for the antigen. Immunoglobulins G is the main line of defense against microorganisms in tissues, as well as produce immunity for the mothers to the fetus, the infant until about 3 months of age. And immunoglobulin M is the first antibodies produced and released during the immune response.